Good morning. Hope everybody's having a fantastic morning. Hope you had an amazing Thanksgiving, an amazing weekend where you were able to rest. Today, I'm going to be talking about, I was on a podcast over Thanksgiving and I was asked the question, hey, you've built, $70 million business. What are some of the things like philosophies or mistakes that you've seen along the way that you could share with a smaller business to help them achieve the success? And so today I want to share with you a couple of thoughts as you head into 2024. I don't know if you know this or not. There's 35 days left in 2023. There is only 35 days left. And so I want to share with you some things here at the end of the year that can separate you as you go into 2024 to not just compete, but to dominate. So this is Monday Mindset. I'm going to cue the intro and I will see you on the other side.
There are no bad businesses. There are just those people who don't know enough to see the opportunities in the work they're in. If there seems to be no future or opportunity in it, it isn't always because it's not there, but perhaps only because we can't see it.
Good morning. Good morning, Melissa, Aaron, Brian. Thank you so much for joining. All those who are tuning in, appreciate you. Lily, appreciate you joining. Want to talk about, I love, Brian, what you're saying. Today's separation season. That's this time frame. I listened to an Ed Mylett podcast, and maybe you saw the same one where he really spoke into that of this is where the winners win. And here's your quote of the week. The quote of the week for me is, a winner is just a loser who tried one more time. That's the difference. The difference between winners and losers is a winner is a loser that tried one more time. And that is truly the separation, is don't give up, keep persisting through. There's 35 days left. As Brian said, this is separation season. This separates the losers from the winners, or I should say the top 20% in their field from the top 1% in their field. And if you caught my intro, I shared that I was on a podcast over Thanksgiving, and I was asked the question. This was a real estate agent and team. They were interviewing me, and I was asked the question, hey, Luke, you've built a $70+ million business. You've had a lot of success, and I'm sure a lot of failures in your journey in this climb. What are some of the common pitfalls or mistakes that you see at different stages of business growth that you could share with a business that's smaller than yours, trying to get to your level, that you could prepare us for? And so I shared a lot on that podcast, but one thing that I wanted to share today in this last 35 days of the year that you have, how are you setting yourself up for 2024? And one of the philosophies that I shared, and you guys can write this down, this is my philosophy in business really, is I think you have to act, I think you have to track, and then I think you have to pivot. Like I think a successful business, yes, there's a myriad of different things in that, but a successful business is somebody who takes massive action, doesn't take paralysis by analysis, right? They take massive action. They wake up today and they just put in the work and they try to do different things. Then they track what their massive action is producing for them. Why? Because you can't measure what you don't track, and you can't improve that which you don't measure. So you have to track everything that you do to see the results that you get so you can understand the third dynamic, which is where do you need to pivot? You will never maintain the same action over and over and over again. You will always be pivoting. You will either be pivoting and doing something completely different because that failed and didn't work, or you will be pivoting to improve upon what is working for you. A great business is a business that is alive, that is always in motion, that is always changing, that is always improving upon their process. Business to me is simple in one regard. Just take massive action, track your results, and then be willing to pivot. Don't have ego. Too much ego gets in the way, I think, for people when it comes to pivoting, where they're so dead set on what they're trying to do that they don't veer from it and they're not willing to pivot. And understand what I mean by pivot. You don't have to go out there and reinvent the wheel, right? Tony Robbins said it best. Success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. You don't have to go be the next Elon Musk or Steve Jobs. Great on you if you are, but you don't have to be that. You can literally see what's working and actually just utilize that wheel that has been built before you, the success that has been built before you, and act upon that. And as you act upon that, track your results from it, and then be willing to pivot just slightly based upon your talents, based upon, the thing that you bring to the table, your, authentic self, because I'm a little different than Brian, who's a little different than Lily, who's a little different than Melissa. So you're going to have your spin on the wheel out there, but just don't be afraid to pivot. I have constantly pivoted my whole career. And one of the things that maybe I've shared as an analogy before on this podcast, or I say podcast, on this insurance syndicate that I got from Alex Hermosi's podcast, where he says, business growth is not usually a straight line of growth. It actually looks more like stairs. And if you think about stairs, you go up, then you flatline, then you go up, then you flatline, you go up, then you flatline. And what's interesting is what got you to $1 million oftentimes is not what's going to take you from like the 50 million to the $100 million range. In fact, a lot of times the things that get you to the first million or 5 million or 10 million, some of those things you actually have to leave behind at bigger stages of the game. A perfect example of this is when we were smaller, it was very easy to change a sales script. Like, man, we're on the phones dialing all day long. My guys are doing 200 plus dials a day. Back in the day when we were calling the phone book, as I called it, and we weren't generating a ton of leads, we were making 400 dials a day, but we're calling all day long. We could change the script based upon what was happening and what we were getting back feedback wise. At my level now, where I have over 100 callers on the phone, it's a whole ordeal to change the script. And what made me great about my being able to be flexible and fluid and change things fast at the smaller level, I have to be more methodical at the bigger level because that change requires communication and what's called change management. And I have to make sure everybody knows not only what the change is and when the change needs to happen and how you're going to be measured on the change, but I also have to make sure that it's communicated so people understand the why behind the change so they can have belief in the change to actually execute. So that's just an example of in growth. Maybe you get to your first 5 million and you go up the stairs and then you flatline. Why? Because $5 million problems are a lot different than $1 million problems, right? So it's not necessarily that it's harder. It's just a different set of problems. So you tend to flatline till you fix those problems. And then you scale maybe to 10 million. And then again, 10 million is a lot different than 5 million, a lot different than a million. So then you flatline. You have to constantly be reiterating or iterating on your process and improving your process to pivot based upon where you're at. But most of us, we fail in the first phase of business, which is we don't take massive action. We don't get out there and take massive action and then test and track the results. And all my messages today to set you up for 2024 is to give you that business philosophy that in your business right now. Where are you at in your staircase of growth? And what wall? Are you flatlining or are you on a great trend right now where you're growing and you're going up the stair, right? And you're going to reach a flatline point. And when you reach that flatline point, you know what you need to do. And I'm going to tell you right now, you need to take massive action on your gut intuition. And if you've done your job by tracking the numbers, your best indicator of future performance is past performance, understanding what worked and what didn't work. There's this great book in real estate called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And it talks about, it did a bunch of case studies and research on real estate agents that make $1 million a year and how they run their business. And one of the core principles that applies to insurance for my insurance syndicate people is lead with revenue. And the whole philosophy there is you've tracked your results and you're looking at what generated the actual revenue for your business. And guess what you do? It's simplistic, but most people don't do it. You double down on the thing that actually generated the revenue, that actually worked. You don't have too much pride in the game. You get rid of the things that didn't work. You double down on the things that worked until they don't return anymore. It's like an ad on Facebook. One of the great hacks that I give people for ads on Facebook is, guess what? You don't have to be creating new ads all the time. If your ad is working, keep pouring more money into that ad until that return stops happening for you. And you can see everybody's ads that are being run right now on Facebook. You can go to Facebook's ad library, just Google it. It will pop up for you. And you can go see the ads they're running. So your competitors that maybe are running Facebook ads in insurance, go look at their ads that they're running. And here's your hack for you of the week. Look at the ads that they've been running the longest. Now, most of the time, the people I know don't want to waste money. So if they've been running an ad for 6 months, if they've been running an ad for a year, there's a good indicator for you, because you can see how long they've been running the ad, that ad is actually producing results, because most of the time people don't want to throw away their money. Now, I got a caveat there because some people don't watch their numbers, and you should, but most of the time that gives you a good indication that these are the ads that are working for them, and that's why they're keeping that ad running. So you want to double down on what's working because you've tracked your numbers. Now, going into 2024, here's your assignment. You got 35 days left. Chat in, have you guys set your goals for 2024 yet? Have you set your goals? And I'm going to have to make sure I get my plug. I just realized my computer is about to die. But chat in for me if you have set your goals for 2024 or done your business planning. And maybe, Lily, I see that you're on. Maybe you can share that on the screen to see how many people have actually set their goals for 2024. And give me a second. I'm going to actually plug this in. I'll be right back with you because I don't want to die and lose you guys altogether. Okay, so has anybody planned their goals? Brian says working on them now, but not finalized. Okay, so we started our 2024 goals back in September. To give you an idea for our company, this by no means means you have to start in September or anything like that, but setting our goals and how we set our goals so you can understand, even at our level of a company, which is not a giant company by any means, we go through and we look at past performance. And what I'm looking at is I'm going, okay, what was my revenue? And in my business, very much like your business, I have what's called recurring revenue. So clients of mine that I signed up last year oftentimes will be a client of mine into 2024. They are on a subscription, whether it's for their magazine or for their email product, for their social media product. So I have recurring revenue of clients that I can count on. So I do a calculation of, hey, how many of my current clients will be with me in 2024? And how long will they be with me based upon my history of churn and cancels that happen with my clients, at what time frames people cancel. And I lay out a whole analysis of going, hey, here's your current client base, Luke. Here's what your current client base is going to produce for you in revenue. And that gives me my X number of, this is my recurring revenue that I will walk into 2024 with. Then that allows me to set my goal to go, okay, well, if I want to grow the company from a $70 million company to an $80 million company, or maybe a $100 million company, where is that new revenue going to come from? Well, it's going to come from sales. So I, just like you, have to do what? I have to go look and say, hey, all my new sales last year, the 20,000+ clients that we added to the program, where did they come from? What marketing campaigns drove the leads that ultimately drove the conversion for those new sales? And I get to go look at all of my avenues. Now, if you've done a good job, you have tracked where your sales have come from, specifically where your leads came from to generate those sales. So we all have a huge category. It should be your biggest category, but in insurance, I know you guys are lead junkies. No offense. So I know you guys don't focus as much here, but I really think you should. You have your referrals. Your current client base should be responsible for giving you 50% or so of your new business. So I go and look at how many referrals did I get from my current client base this year? How many of those actually turned into new clients? And that gives me an understanding of what revenue I generated from my referral-based marketing. Then I move to my outbound marketing, my prospecting. So for me, I have things like paid advertising that I do that you guys probably do. I have things like trade shows that I do. I think we went to like 70 conferences this year, like 68, 70 conferences, something like that. So that's generating new sales for us at those conferences, but also in the follow-up of those conferences. So you guys get the idea of what I'm talking about. Just like you, I'm going to walk through every avenue and category of sale that I have, and I'm going to look at a couple things. What I'm going to look at is how many leads did I generate over the course of 2023 from these campaigns? What was my conversion rate on these leads? And then ultimately, I'm going to go down to what is the effort that was put in for these leads. And that goes down to the number of callers, salespeople that I actually have on the phones or that I have working the conferences, down to even the time that it takes them to work these leads, to give me an understanding of the activity that's required every single day or week or month. And that's going to outlay for me, hey, Luke, based upon your current sales force and your current history of performance, if you spend X in marketing, if you go to Y trade shows, if you continue to ask and convert on referrals at the percentage you're doing, you're going to generate X number of sales over the course of 2024. But guess what? Just like me, it's going to be the same for you. There's going to be your recurring revenue. There's going to be your revenue based upon your historical performance. And hey, if I change nothing in my process and do the same performance that I did in 2023 and just spend the same amount of money, I'm going to get basically around the same result. But there's going to be a gap in this growth that I ultimately want, because maybe I want to go from 70 million to 100 million. Well, where's that difference maker there? I either got to spend more money, more check equity in marketing to generate more leads, or I've got to hire more salespeople for myself. And then I can map out, well, what does a salesperson get me when I hire them? How much ramp up time is required? My normal salesperson has X number of sales in their 30 days, Y number of sales in their 60 days, Z number of sales in their 90 days. And I give up a ramp up time and go, okay, Luke, that tells you how many people you need to hire. So if you're not following what I'm saying, I want to summarize for you guys what I do that allows me to be successful and drive my business. What I do is I go and I look at my actual performance and I write down. It takes a lot of manual work. You'd be surprised. I told my brother Steven over Thanksgiving, we use Excel docs. Like we have Tableau as a reporting system. And, obviously we store our stuff in databases and I have some tech people, but it's not rocket science. Like we literally get a lot of this data, put it into Excel docs, and then we're doing pivot tables on this stuff. And we're just mapping out our data. And it's a lot of rigor and mundane work and boring work. And for a salesperson like me who can't stop talking with his hands, look at me right here. I'm throwing my hands all around. It's horrible work. But I focus, I put in the discipline because I know, hey, the difference maker between the winners and the losers is the winners are willing to put in this work. The winners are willing to do the tedious at night, culling through tons of data to try to figure out, okay, well, what was our true conversion on these sample requests that came in? How much money did we end up spending? And we try to map out exactly how many leads we need, how many callers we need to call those leads, what the conversion has to be on those leads that we generate, and how we need to fare in onboarding our new clients and retaining them in order to produce revenue to hit our target. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to set SMART goals. What are SMART goals? They're specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant, and they're time bound. So it allows me to sit down and go, man, I know I have specific outlay of, hey, Mike Campanelli, my VP of sales, you're going to have a team of X callers. These X callers need to hit this Y monthly goal. And you're going to be giving these leads from marketing if marketing can hit their goal. And that's going to have to challenge you to convert at these numbers in order to hit these goals that you have. And if you do this and we stay on track, we will produce this amount of revenue that flows from it. All of a sudden, my VP of sales doesn't wake up day one on December or January 1st wondering, okay, what do we do? What's our goals? What do we have to do? No, he knows, hey, not only the month goal, I know down to the team that I have because he has multiple teams in sales. I know down to the caller exactly what that caller is supposed to do. I know exactly what a caller is supposed to close campaign-wise, so he can hold people accountable to the specifics, and the specifics are measured, and they're very achievable. I don't set 10x goals like Grant Cardone says. I like to dream in 10x. Right? I like to sit there on a whiteboard and go, well, what would it take to be a $200 million company? That to me is a great exercise to get my creativity flowing, to get me thinking outside the box, to not settle on mediocrity. But the reality is, if I just set a $200 million goal for my company and I'm currently at a $70 million company, well, that's going to be unrealistic. And guess what happens? I can't hold my VP of sales, my executive team, and the people that flow beneath them actually accountable because they didn't have a chance coming out of the gate to even perform. So what I try to do is go, hey, my best indicator of future performance is my past history performance. And from there, I measure everything I do and then actually put some stretch goals in place to push us to that next level. And this allows me to walk into 2024 with a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail, right? That's the saying. You've got to put in the tedious work. This is the difference maker. Take massive action on that. Track your results all year long, and then be willing to pivot as you go. This year, we had to pivot multiple times on our original goal because things weren't panning out the way we planned, right? That's going to happen to you. But my big failure, or the big failure that I see in small businesses, and I shared this on that podcast that I was saying when I opened up, is that they don't put in that level of work because they're so consumed with just running the day-to-day of the business. And I get it. You're in charge of sales, customer service, product. You're in charge of all of it, but you don't put in the work. So day one on January 1st, you're waking up without a clear direction of the activity you need to do every single day. And you don't have milestones blocked out, whether it's monthly, weekly, quarterly, to know, hey, I'm moving the big rock. I'm moving the little rocks in my business that even though it doesn't feel like I'm winning right now, I know I'm winning because ultimately I've done the work to factor in the numbers to know these are the activities I need to do. And I can't control the result, but I can definitely control the activities. That's the reality. I can't control all the time what the result's going to be, but I can control the activities that I put in. So that's my Monday mindset for you guys. Hope you got some out of that. Put in the work. Take massive action. Make sure you track your results. Make sure you're willing to pivot in your business. Let's get out there and win this week for our families, for our clients, and for us. Let's make it an amazing week. Close out November strong. 35 days left. Let's make it happen. See you guys.